Jeff Wilson started covering the Texas Rangers in 2008, though he'll never forget 2021. Out on his own, he decided it was time to do a podcast, but his wheels were spinning until a nerd came along. There's no going back now. Welcome to the Texas Rangers Baseball Podcast. Here's your host, Jeff Wilson, and the recliner nerd himself, John Moore.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of the Texas Rangers Baseball Podcast. This is episode 1, and this is a huge one because joining us on episode 1, this is why I teamed up with this guy, Jeff Wilson. He pulled a coup. We are going to have the Rangers president of baseball operations, Jon Daniels, and he's going to join us, Jeff.
Yeah, pretty excited about this whole thing. But before Jon comes on, just wanted to thank everybody for watching, and if you've signed up for Jeff Wilson's Texas Rangers newsletter. Really appreciate that. We're about 2 months old now. We've got about 620 people on the email list, so we're growing rapidly, getting more paid subscribers. Which, you know, if you're not a paid subscriber, you're really missing out on some premium content. But anyway, thanks. You know, I didn't want to stop covering baseball when the other place didn't want me to cover for them anymore. So. This podcast is something I wanted to I've been kicking around. I wanted to do it there. They just didn't have any time or anybody who could do it. So John Moore, you came along and kind of taking the reins here, and I appreciate it. And we're gonna have. I mean, it's gonna be good. We're gonna have good guests.
Oh yeah.
Episode probably off season. There'll be trouble bringing guys in off the golf course, but we're gonna do it, and we're gonna have fun.
I think so. And look, when you did this, I remember that first day I went up to you and said, "Hey, what's the heck's going on?" And you told me what you'd started, and you were doing that, and I was excited about it. And then TR came over, and then I was like, you know, I always wanted to co-host a podcast. The deal is where I was doing it, I was kind of with this company, and the guy was out of there, and I was like, you know, if I'd rather do this with somebody I know, and you and I become friends in the press box. And
Yeah.
you're a beat writer. You cover. I read your stuff. I have it. Look, and he's not lying. Look, I know I'm sitting here for the guy I'm working for, trying to plug $5.99 a month, but I'm telling you right now, and I'll tell you who will love this. If you're a member of the Athletic, this is your thing, because this isn't $15 a month, $10. This $5.99 a month. It's just covers. Jeff, he's taking pressure off me. I used to have to try to write and get stuff out. He is covering daily for the Rangers, and this stuff comes out every morning, just the way the other stuff does. Great content, and TR stuff alone is great.
Sure. And then, you know, he was a lot like you. He didn't want to be paid. He just wanted an outlet. You know, he retired from MLB.com, and I think he has the itch. He has a lot of stories to tell, and if you've missed them, they're all on the website, jeffwilson.substack.com. But you know, this week he wrote a 3-part deal about Johnny Oates.
That was awesome.
Very good. You know, his ballpark memoir last week was great. I think he's doing Pudge next, if I remember correctly. So if you're a baseball fan, if you don't know a lot about the history of the Rangers, TR is going to catch you up.
Oh, and look, look for anyone, and I come at this from a fan, and I want to get into your career and how we got into it. I come at this as 1974. I went to my first Ranger game. The fact I get to cover them now for the last 3 years has been great, but I come at it from a fan perspective. You guys have us ask the tough questions when we're in those Zoom meetings or in the press conferences. I stay back because I'm a homer. I admit it. And so that's why you'll call me an idiot sometimes and go, you know what you're talking about, John. You're just coming at this as a fan. But I will tell you right now, I thought always just the story was Bob Short took the Washington Senators and he moved them to Texas. That story he told in 3 parts was amazing. I did not know that. And I know the Rangers for a long time.
Right. No, and I mean, it started like in the late 50s. You know, he just built it up so well.
Oh my gosh!
All the characters involved and the politics and everything. I mean, it was really good. So, yeah. And then when you and I did the podcast with TR,
yeah,
that was great. That was like an hour, and we just were talking ball. It was solid.
Oh, it was fantastic. And TR, come on. And what we need to do is get TR on here and go back to some of these memoirs from the beginning. If you want to read them now, you need to go join up. And it's well worth it, guys. We're talking, that's less than a Whataburger meal that I get all the time. Yeah. And that's one Whataburger meal, less than that. And it's per month. And it's look, it's fantastic. Okay, I've plugged it. We've done it. Jeff, how did you get into this? So you started covering the Rangers in 2008, but you're from Colorado, right? Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, I grew up in Colorado. while you were attending your first game in '74, I was born in '74. I think it was a snowy November day, as I recall.
Not in Texas.
But yeah, and we didn't have Major League Baseball, so my first real flavor for baseball was from cable television. So I was a Cubs and Braves and Mets fan growing up, and there in the mid '80s, the Braves weren't very good, but the Cubs and the Mets were, and then the Braves got good, and so and the Rockies came. Their first season was my senior year of high school, and I was working as an intern at the Denver Post, writing high school stuff, and then I enrolled at TCU, and before I had my first class, I got a job at the Star Telegram, and I was there for 28 years. I got I was on the copy desk, and I covered motorsports and UNT, then TCU, and then the Rangers. I got the Rangers beat 2 days after I got engaged. So that's quite a way to start off a long partnership.
Yeah, so Jennifer gets to for 6 months out of the year, she has a newlywed, and she's got a new husband who takes off on 10-day road trips.
Oh yeah, she planned out the whole wedding. It was a good.
I can't imagine that. I used to travel a lot and doing that. Hey, you were a senior when the Rockies came to town?
I was, yeah, 93. And
well, here's a little trivia for not trivia, but here's a little thing that he's going to find interesting. The opening day starter for the Colorado Rockies, the very first inaugural season, was my quarterback in high school.
Dave Need, right?
David Need was my quarterback in high school. David was a junior when I was a senior. He threw me a few passes, not a lot. We had an all-state running back. I went downfield and blocked a lot. That's what I did.
Well, the game's a lot, John.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that game you went to last night, how many times did they throw it? 100 times?
No, not at all. So see, I don't live in Duncanville anymore. I live up in Richardson. My kids go to school there. Oh, it's going to be a long season for the Richardson Eagles, unfortunately. I just took the kids. They were very nice to my kid. You know what happened with Kevin, and they were very nice to him. And they're having part of the program this year, even though he can't play or do anything like that. So we went up there to watch, and we got in the car afterwards. I said, "This is going to be a bad season." They lost 35-0. I don't think the quarterback attempted 4 passes. I don't know if he can't throw.
Go fast if you run the ball.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
PR covered a game last night for the morning news, and the one of the quarterbacks had thrown for 400 yards in the first half.
That's it wasn't that way when I was growing up. And I mean, when I was in high school, what did you play in high school? Did you play sports?
No, I didn't. I went to a very good, Roy Halladay was the starting pitcher on my baseball team. So there was a lot of depth at Arvada West High, and I was not part of it.
Where did your love of sports come from? You were just always a sports fan?
Yeah, it was really about this time. My son's 9, and he's starting to get into it. And it was about when I was 9. My best friend to this day, his dad was a high school coach and knew a lot about sports. And so really my first favorite team outside of the Broncos was the Georgetown Hoyas in the 83-84 season. And then that's when we got cable. And so then I just rolled right into the WGN and WR and TBS. And that's where it started. And then 86, I got an 86 Topps wax box. And so from there on, baseball was my thing. I mean, I always played it, but it became my passion. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you always put cards on. I always notice it on my email every morning that I get from jeffwilson.substack. You've always got a baseball card on there that you do along with your story.
Card of the week on Fridays. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that your collection? That's your personal collection?
Yeah. So far, pulling stuff out of there, and I'm sure that my neighbor Bill Silheed, who owns Superior Sports Investments, a proud sponsor of the Texas Rangers baseball podcast.
Absolutely.
His setup's unbelievable. Not at his house; it's somewhere else, obviously. But you
won't
believe the stuff he's got.
Now, is his store down there in Mansfield?
He doesn't have a store. He's online only. He and his brother Sam they operate online superiorsportsinvestments.com. They're going to be there's a card show this weekend in Allen, DallasCardShow.com.
Yeah.
At the Delta Waters Creek Convention Center, 600 tables. Bill will be there with I think he sets up with 8 tables. There's all kinds of stuff, and
crazy.
It's amazing what's happened with cards, and it's amazing what's happened in the last week with cards with Topps.
Yeah, they're gone.
Business, and and really Panini's in trouble now. So it's really interesting time. We should have him on because he could fill up 20 minutes easy.
Well, for the baseball card, and look, I get every year. My mother-in-law buys me a complete set, and I've saved them for my kids. Is what I did. I've got thousands of cards that I haven't even gone through from the time that I was a kid. Used to buy them as a kid. You'd buy that little package of them,
Sure.
and you come with that. And now everybody buys them in bulk. But I love baseball cards. They're America's pastime. They do print a lot of them now. That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
But that was interesting. Topps lost out. That was crazy.
Yeah, I don't know the behind the scenes, but sounds like Fanatics just kind of money whipped MLB and NBA and NFL too. So it's going to be interesting here in the next couple of years what happens.
Well, look, we've got to talk about the team that we cover, and that's the Texas Rangers. And
Yeah.
so, look, the record right now, see, I was looking this up a while ago. They're 3-7 in the last 10 days. They're 44-83. I got to ask this. They're going to lose 100?
Yeah, I can't see any other way that they avoid it. And it's, I don't think they were, well, this is something we can ask JD. I don't think they designed the team with 100 losses in mind.
No.
But just the way it's kind of unfolded. I was on another podcast with Ben and CJ right at the All-Star break, and they asked if I thought the Rangers would do better or worse. And I thought they would do better, but a lot of it hinged on the trade deadline. And, obviously that has changed the fortunes of the team. Lose your best player and your best starting pitcher. And
right.
Maybe that doesn't amount to any more than 5 wins the rest of the year. But still, I mean, if you're trying to not lose 100, those 5 are pretty big. And so it's been hard to watch at times. I think there are guys that you're not going to see around after this season or maybe next. That's just kind of the way it is, and the Rangers have a good farm system we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a team in transition. And if the example if that's the Astros last decade, the teams that were losing 108, 105, 110, 111 games
3 or 4 years in a row. Yeah.
If that's the example, hopefully it's not that long, but if you come out the other side smelling pretty good and winning a World Series, it'll all be worth it.
Look, and there are some things to be optimistic about with this team, even the way they're playing right now. This was, I think you and I both were on the Zoom calls at the beginning of the year. We were told it's an assessment year. Look, right. Nobody expected them. I was like you. I actually predicted, and when I did it, and predicting is so stupid, but I do it just because it's something to do. And I thought, they'll probably win. I believe between 74 and 78 games. That's what I kind of figured. I was, there's no way that's happening. They're not going to get to 70. That's without a doubt. And unless they get on a roll, they're capable. I mean, look, they have not gotten their asses kicked the last few games. I mean, they've been in it. We've seen some things we like. The young kids are up here playing. A lot of guys, and I don't think anyone can dismiss the value, believe it or not. And I know people don't like these guys, but Fultonevich and Lyles have major value right now. They are eating innings that kids don't need to eat right now.
Yeah, and I think that's why you're seeing Cole Winn, for instance, or AJ Alexy. Not that you're not going to see AJ later in the year, but that's why they're in the minors right now. I mean, these, a lot of these guys in the minors did not pitch at all last year.
Exactly.
So, it's kind of tricky. You can't just build, have them throw 80 innings in the minors and then say, all right, come up here and throw 100 pitches every 5th day. It just doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
You don't want to get these guys hurt. You want to get their feet wet, which maybe you can do with them as relievers. I mean, that's how they did it with Derek Holland and how they've done it with others in the past. But it's been hard to watch those two veterans at times. Like last night wasn't great, but they can get you innings. And right now, this team's just trying to survive and get to the end without any injuries, burning anybody out, still trying to learn. And so, Fultonevich and Lyles do have value.
They do. If you're a Ranger fan, you don't want to see Cole Winn up here this year. And obviously, none of those guys. Look at Cole Reagans has been amazing. He's looked good coming back. He hasn't been amazing. He's looked great. Looks like somebody they can definitely use. I think, is Otto pitching tonight?
Otto is he's starting for the Rangers tonight.
Which is
For Howard, because Howard has to go on the COVID deal.
I do, it sucks with the COVID deal for some of these players, but I am enjoying seeing some of these kids get a chance. Doro's like just a personal favorite of mine. I did a big story on him at the beginning of the year. That kid is just 30th round pick, Adrian, Michigan, had a baby. His wife had a baby 3 months ago. Married his college sweetheart, and both of them were at college. They were both the shortstops on the softball and the baseball team. So I was kidding him about that kid's going to come out turning two, and, a double play. He's redheaded like his dad. And I talked with his agent, not his agent, but his the scout who scouted him and his college coach. And that guy, look, he's fun to watch. I hope he gets a chance to do some things. He's like an Isaiah kind of Falefa is what he is. He's just he was a minor league guy that filled in, utility guy, just busted his butt grinder to get up here. And he's got a future in baseball. If baseball ever leaves him, he'll have a future coaching or doing something for sure.
Yeah,
So that's a good story to watch him. Of course, he's only here for COVID. He'll be down here in a week or so, but it's really neat to see him get up there. So 62 is the target, right? We got to get 63 to stay under 100 for this team. What are some of the things that you've seen? What do you think? There's some of the positive players we've seen up here now that are playing.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to find them, but I mean, just right now, speaking in the present, Andy Ibanez has a 10-game hitting streak. He's played okay defensively, which was a concern, I think, with him always. But this guy, he's got a pretty good story. He's from Cuba, and it's never easy for those guys to get off the island, and the process they have to go through to get citizenship, and MLB has to improve them, and all. Anyway, it's a long journey,
right?
And he's been on a lot of buses, and he's here now, and they figured him out for a little while, it seemed like. And now he's doing well. He's adjusted back, and that's one of the things you want to see.
Right.
When you're evaluating these guys, whether you're a scout or an executive or Chris Woodward or Corey Ragsdale or whoever, you want to see these guys learn from their mistakes and adjust, and that's a sign that these guys might have something in the future. And so far, right now, you're seeing Andy Ibanez adjust. He's hitting a lot of doubles. He does have home run power, but right now he's probably the Rangers' best hitter.
Yeah, he's hit at every level too. I mean, you go down and look through his minor league stats, and he's had some power. He's hit good. I think defense is always kind of like a Solak in the fact that they didn't know, but he's played some pretty good defense since he's been up.
Sure, and then I think he got hit with an error last night, but it was like a bad hop or something. But anyway, that's good. You see Kiner Falefa kind of coming around too.
He's got an 8-game hitting streak, didn't he?
They kind of talked about on the broadcast yesterday. It was in the Zoom call. This guy's had a huge chip on his shoulder his whole life, and I think when the All-Star balloting came out and he wasn't in the top 10, he stepped on the gas when maybe he should have tapped the brakes. And, he kind of went into a slump for I don't know 6 weeks.
Yeah,
and he's coming out of it now, which is good. And he said that he's kind of just appreciates what he has. He's a Major League Baseball player, and how many people can say that? Not a lot. And he's going to be a Major League Baseball player into the foreseeable future. It may not be a starter, the Rangers might go get a shortstop, and they're going to have a second baseman coming up and a third baseman coming up. So Isaiah may turn into a super utility guy, and that's fine
because he'll get his at bats.
Yeah, he'll get at bats. He'll play good defense. So, but he's got a career, and I think he finally realizes that. And that's kind of what Nick Solak said last night too, because he had a good game. He was in AAA for a month, and he kind of appreciates just being at the ballpark, talking to the guys, and he realized that he's another guy who's putting a ton of pressure on himself. That hey, you're playing a game that you always dreamed of playing, and not many people get to see this dream come true. So if he's in a better headspace, that's good. Again, Justin Fossey's coming at some point, so you don't know how long Nick's going to be around, but he can play other positions. So maybe the guys up the middle right now, Ibanez, Solak, Kiner Falefa, end up moving around at some point. But hey, maybe something happens and they stick as regulars.
Well, that's the major league talk. We've got into that. It's time to we're going to get John here in just a minute. Before we get John on here, though, we kind of need to tell people what the plans are. What are we going to this podcast and what this podcast is for? I think we plan. You and I've talked. We're still working it out, but weekly. Going to try to do it weekly, especially during the season. We're going to do it weekly, unless one of us, a vacation happens or something happens. We're going to try to do it weekly. We are going to go down in the bus leagues. That's minor leagues. We're going to cover all of that. I'm right up the street from Frisco, so I can get up here. I wanted to start, you and I are going to talk about some other things to do. We'll get TR on to talk some stuff, have guests on. We're going to go from the minor leagues to the major leagues, current, former. Tell me what else you think you want to see with this thing.
Well, I mean, you covered it all, but it's just ball talk. And, I think a lot of times you see, whether it's in the written word or on television or whatever, a lot of it's really, there's some real serious storytellers out there trying to paint a 10-6 August loss as either the end of the world or the start of something great. I mean,
right.
The big picture is involved in all of this, but we don't need to be serious. This isn't the end of the world. There's going to be a game tomorrow, no matter what happens the night before. And so we're going to keep it light. Where if something serious happens, we got to talk about. We're going to talk about it, but we're not going to get caught up in things that honestly we don't know about. Like the process. Well, what's the process? Well, it's a lot of things, and it's different for every person. There's
absolutely
each player has a process. It's not like a uniform thing, and that's just coach speak anyway. And we don't know what the process is. So. We can judge guys and if they're coming around or not and adjustments they've made, but we don't need to talk about War and Peace here or write War and Peace. This is going to be fun.
I agree. And as a guy who's done a podcast for 3 years, let me tell you why I'm so excited. There is nothing better than two people sitting here and you calling me an idiot because you're the expert and all of that, to have someone to talk to. I felt like sometimes when I didn't have a guest and I was throwing one out, I felt like a lecturer. And I'm like, I am not the be all end all of baseball. I'm a guy that has an opinion, a lot of times stupid one, that a lot of people will disagree with, which makes it even more fun. So I'm excited. I'm so excited to have someone else just to bounce my stupid ideas off. And when they go, God, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, I can go, okay. And you know what? Good, because no one else was there to tell me that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, John. And so, you know what? Let's get JD. We're going to bring get John on, and we're going to welcome our guest. Okay, guys, and welcome into the show. This is a great one for us. The president of Rangers baseball operation, Jon Daniels, is joining us. John, thanks so much for coming on the very first show with us.
Yeah, excited to do it. Thanks for having me on.
It's quite an honor for you. I know
It is. It is. I'm gonna put this in the bio.
Let's see if we can get you a plaque or something.
About time.
So, busy times for you guys here last week, scrambling.
Yeah, man. There's plenty to do without the COVID breakout curveball that we got, but listen, I think in the scheme of things, kind of a glad like everybody seems to be doing well, but kind of maybe a little surprising we hadn't, fortunate we hadn't dealt with anything to this degree earlier on, with everything going on. So, but again, everybody seems to be doing well. Most guys, didn't really have much in the way of symptoms. The ones that did are improving.
I know you can't predict this stuff, but do you guys feel like you're kind of, knock on wood, all clear, or should it be by next week?
That's the hope. I mean, that's the hope. We've got regular testing going on, so you can kind of get that phone call at any time. As I think we've all learned in every walk of life. But right now we seem to be good. We've gone a couple days without hearing anything like that. Definitely, it's caused us to double down our efforts to be cautious and be smart, and everyone's doing a little more mask wearing here, and I think everybody had kind of gotten a little lax in the Delta variant. Make sure we consider that. So we'll be a little more cautious going forward.
Yeah, this has just been a busy time. Like with the draft, no break, right into the trade deadline. just seems like you guys have been, I don't know, a real busy stretch.
Yeah. I mean, I think it always is. Quite frankly, I wish it was a little busier. I wish we were, worried about contention and postseason roster. And obviously, we're not in that mix. Our focus is more on instructional league and kind of setting things up for next year and off-season planning, acquisitions. But you're right that it was a unique year on top of, the off-field stuff. It was a unique year in that the draft got moved back and the draft right over the All-Star breaks, that kind of the few days you kind of typically plan for, let the staff have some downtime, that was gone. And then that ran right into the trade deadline. So it was fun in a lot of ways, but it was, it was a challenge to juggle a lot of things there.
How much different is it now that you're in a different role and have Chris Young? Are you delegating more, or are you still diving in?
Both. I mean, the trade deadline was, probably every bit as involved as I have been in the past. And, but there was some delegation that where, Chris handled some of the trade conversations directly with other clubs. We kind of split up those duties. And I think the way we looked at it was from the time he came on, right around Thanksgiving last year, beginning of December, moving forward, I think the goal has been a kind of gradual transition. I mean, he's got a ton of experience, but hadn't had front office experience and on the ops side. A ton of experience at the league as a player, very bright, great with people, but he's experiencing all these things for the first time. So next year draft, next year trade deadline, next year Rule 5, he'll have gone through the cycle. So this year, I had probably more of a hands-on role than I think as we go through it again the second time, we'll continue to kind of transition and he'll continue to take more of the direct lead on things.
But it was a good month. You guys got who you wanted in the draft. You added a lot of depth in the farm system, and looks like it's finally being recognized. Now, I know you guys have always been high in the system.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, listen, I'm a little biased. I think that had we played a minor league season last year, I think that recognition might have come even a year earlier. There was nothing to evaluate last year, from the minor league side. So that was a little challenging, but there have been a lot of good things going on. I'd much rather be on the other side of those trades in general, where we're adding to the big league club. I'm telling Woody that, a couple of weeks ago, like, hey, we're about to flip the script here, and soon enough I'll be coming down, and telling you the players we're adding to your team, not taking off your team. But for what we needed to accomplish, you're right. This is a good month. Guys killed it in the draft. We had a lot of positive development stories of some of the players that were already here. Guys coming back off injury, guys, breakout seasons, some Dustin Harris and others. And then we added, another 7 or 8 guys at the trade deadline that, we can add to that mix and continue to develop and move forward.
Looking at the minors and some of the trades you made last year, you mentioned Dustin Harris. Your pro scouts have really kind of kicked some serious tail here and even in the past few off seasons.
They have, man. They've done a great job with some of these kind of under the radar acquisitions. You mentioned Dustin Harris. This one stings a little bit, but Emmanuel Clase was a great recommendation by the pro staff, and we ended up trading him for Kluber. That with the COVID deal and the injury, it didn't work out, but it doesn't take away from the job that they did in identifying him, recommending him. I think Dane Acker is going to be one of those guys. Jonah Heim has shown promise. Nate Lowe has shown promise. I think there's going to be more there. Dunning appears to be a fit for us going forward, and on down the line. So, the irony is, Dustin Harris is really the second name in that deal. Where Smith was the guy that was really more focused. He's had this recurring hamstring issue that's held him back a little bit, but he can really hit as well. And so yeah, we're looking forward to getting him back and just you're right. The group, that department as a whole, has done really good work.
So this off season it's got a chance to get kind of messy. I mean, really, even the last month with all your, like in terms of the 40-man roster, you've got the guys on the 60 who've got to come off, and then you've got the guys you're going to want to protect from the Rule 5 draft. So how seems like there's a lot more juggling. Maybe it's because of last year and COVID, but it just seems like there's a lot. You're going to have a busy off season, really from before the winter meetings even start.
Yeah, I mean, so I look at it this way. You'd rather be in that spot where you have more interesting guys than the alternative, right? Where you've got a ton of space because you don't have players. Listen, we'd love to consolidate, and there might be some opportunities to do that. We'll look into that. And we understand that, there's a chance you end up losing some players too in the process, whether it's in the Rule 5 or if we have to take guys off the roster. But that's really been our focus here the last couple months, and will continue to be in September, is to take a look at some of these players, both the roster bubble guys that are on the roster. We want to make sure we give them an opportunity to play them, see them in game situations, and evaluate them against the best competition. And then also the Rule 5 guys. Probably, going into it, we probably saw, maybe 4 or 5 kind of definite additions to the roster on the Rule 5. Nick Snyder is one guy we've already added. And then, a handful of others that we're going to have to make decisions on. And fortunately, we've got a little time to do that.
Yeah. Also the off season, you've mentioned this and Chris has mentioned this, both Chris's actually. You're going to have some money to play with, and you expect to be players in free agency. And we all know the names are out there, but how do you narrow down who is the right fit?
Well, I mean, so a few things. I mean, one is that, it is a good free agent class, but it also appears to be a good free agent class, a year from now and 2 years from now. And, we want to take meaningful steps forward, but we don't necessarily need to do all of our shopping in one free agent class. We'll explore trades as well. We want to, continue to give opportunities to our guys internally. We have, there's a few spots that we probably won't look to go big at because I think we have some internal options. But for the most part, we have some flexibility with the young guys coming up that they can play different positions, and it allows us to really target who are the best fits overall. So I think because of that, there really aren't many players that we will be out on. I mean, from a positional standpoint, I think it's going to be more, does he fit for us financially? Does he fit for us, the type of player that we want to acquire? But we can really consider guys at just about any position.
And then the last one for me, when you talk about trading with the state of the farm system, do you feel there's enough depth, and maybe that's the consolidation part you're talking about, to go out and send some prospects for players?
I mean, that's not our preference. We're not necessarily looking to deal from the system. But we want to continue to grow it and have it support, a long-term, championship contender. But we did it last year in the deal for Nate Lowe. I mean, we are open. We're open to trading prospects if you're getting controllable players back, guys that are going to be here beyond just a year or so. But I'm quite confident that we have, the players in the system that we can acquire, anybody that's out there if we decide that's the right fit for us.
Yeah. Hey, John, I had a couple questions. I kind of come from the fan side doing this. I've been covering them for 3 years, but been a long time fan. But these are just some fun questions. When you were you're a Northeastern guy. When you were growing up, who were you a fan of growing up?
I was a Mets fan. Yeah, I was a Mets fan. So born in '77. So those Mets teams in the mid '80s were kind of right as I was becoming a big fan. And Gooden and Strawberry, Keith Hernandez, Gary Carter, Ron Darling. Yeah, that whole crew.
Now, did you play sports growing up, or were you just a fan?
More of a fan. I mean, I played more in the neighborhood, more pickup type stuff, but I didn't play at a high level.
Like most of us, right? So, hey, now, when was it that you thought you wanted to be in baseball? Were you in college when you thought, this may be some way I want to go?
So Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there was some discussion in college about it. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I want to hang out and have a good time with my friends for the most part at that
Sure.
point in my life. I still actually that's still my first choice. Um, but one of my college roommates was AJ Preller, who's now the Padres GM,
Right.
um, and so AJ, to give him credit, he knew kind of early on that he wanted to get into sports. I didn't think it was really very realistic. I hadn't played, hadn't coached, hadn't anything like that. And so we were kind of sports nerds and would talk about it all the time. And he took it to even a different level. And he ended up doing an internship with the Phillies during college. He sophomore year, sophomore junior year, I forget, but he went one semester, worked in Philadelphia. He worked in their sales department, but he had got some opportunity in the baseball ops group. And we would talk about thinking the opportunity might be more in football with the salary cap and kind of, more of an economics background, that there might be an opportunity there. But he ended up getting his foot in the door with Major League Baseball. And I went to Boston, worked for the parent company of Dunkin' Donuts, and they own some other brands. And I would end up talking to him more about his job than I did mine. And because he was at the league office, and he would send me things to review and help him talk through his job. I remember he sent me I think Manny Ramirez's contract and stuff that he probably shouldn't have been sending me. Um, and but we talk about his job a ton, and I went with him to the winter meetings a couple times, helped him do a few things, and then that led to getting my foot in the door with the Rockies for an internship.
You were one of those kids that walks around at the winter meetings in the suit and.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think I wore a suit, but yeah, I did. So I it's interesting that the first one I went to, the winter meeting, I went to two before I got a job. I went to '99 in Anaheim, and I went to 2000 here in Dallas, the year that the Rangers signed Alex Rodriguez, and but in '99 in Anaheim, this was right, I think, before the heavy lobby scene.
Okay.
Because we were hanging out at the lobby, AJ and myself, and hanging out late at night. And I remember reporters were there, Peter Gammons and Paul Hagen and all these guys, and then George Brett and Bruce Bochy. I remember Ned Coletti, and I mean, and the access was unbelievable. There were very few job seekers at the time, so it was we were hanging out at the bar with these Hall of Fame caliber guys and all these different corners of the industry, and I thought,
Yeah.
what is amazing, and then I remember in 2000 here at the Anatole, it changed a little bit. It wasn't quite the same level of access, a bigger hotel and all that. And then the following year, I was working for the Rangers in 2001 when I was in Boston. So it changed fast. I was fortunate. I kind of got in right before the lobby became what you see it as now. A lot, it's you can barely walk through the lobby without a million people. So
You don't walk through the lobby, in fact.
I don't anymore. No, I don't. And I feel bad because I mean, to your point, man, I'm not that far removed from being that, the job seeker.
Yeah.
In that, but the difference was I was probably one of, 8 guys that year at the winter meetings versus now it's, one of 8,000.
Right. Right.
That's okay. Look, we're going to end this thing on a fun one. I've always wanted to know this. Following and all the moves you've made and how you did it, and you can name names. I hope you can in this case. But has there ever been a deal where it came together, everything came together, and within a half an hour, it was something you weren't even thinking of, another team wasn't thinking of. You got the call or you made the call and said, "What about this player?" And within 30 minutes, you guys had a deal and put something together and had a trade that quick. Has there ever been one that just came together and it was just like that out of the blue?
I don't know that it was quite that fast, but when we reacquired Mike Napoli in was it 2015, it happened very, very quickly. And part of it, I think, was Ben Cherington was the GM in Boston, and we kind of reached out, and we were thinking about bringing Nap in to play a little bit of left. We were looking for a bat off the bench, a little bit of first. We didn't think he could catch anymore. We ended up playing him in left field, which was kind of a little bit crazy to begin with, but. We made the call, and I think Ben wanted to put Knapp in a good spot. He'd won a World Series with them. He's I think they felt like they wanted to do right by Knapp, and so that one happened really quickly, and it was a lot of fun because we knew what we were getting.
Yeah,
That's
I remember it seemed like the Kindler Fielder trade happened quickly. Maybe not 20 minutes, but it seemed like I remember you guys saying that one happened quick.
It did happen fairly quickly. I think the biggest thing was, just negotiating the money piece there.
Yeah.
And boy, that one when it got messy was that, Dave called back to tell us that he would do it, Dave Dombrowski in Detroit. And I was literally getting on a plane at that time for a weekend away with my wife. And so Prince Fielder had a no trade clause that he had to waive. So I remember, talking to Dave and saying, "Hey, do me a favor, please don't tell Scott Boras, the agent, please don't tell, Scott and Prince what the deal is, because we hadn't spoken to Ian yet, and I didn't want it getting out, especially that I was about to be on a flight for 2 or 3 hours." And I don't know exactly how it happened, but it got out. I always kind of thought it got out through, because Scott or Prince were aware, and Ian, rightfully so, was pissed about how it got out, and like I felt terrible about that. But yeah, so that's a good example, man. Sometimes when things happen kind of quickly and you're not in a good spot to handle them, it was not as clean as I would have liked it to be.
That was on November 20th, by the way, and I was on furlough at the time, so I couldn't write the story, and I was pretty pissed.
Hey, yeah, it's all your fault, John. See that Jeff couldn't get something out.
That's right.
Well, listen, John, look, I know you're busy. It's so great you joined us for the very first episode. The fact you stopped, and that's Jeff's pull and putting this thing together to give you a call and you doing. I know you guys. Yeah, all that pull, and you guys work together on Do It for Durrett, which is near and dear to me also, and all that. But John, we can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this. And we'll all get together right at trade deadline. You'll come on that day, and we'll just sit there and just do it together. And we'll be the scoop. You can get us the scoop
that morning. Let's do it. And I wish you guys luck, man. I wish you guys a lot of luck with this launch. And thanks for having me on the kickoff here.
All right. Yeah, your trophy's in the mail.
That's Jon Daniels, president of baseball operations for the Texas Rangers. Thanks, John.
All right, fellas. Take care.
Take care.
That was great. Hey, that's a big coup for you. That's part of the reason I came. Look, I've met these guys. I've seen them. I don't have Jon Daniels' phone number in my phone. You were sitting there telling me, I've been texting him. He's trying to clear a spot. The fact he made time, that was cool.
Yeah. I mean, they're busy right now with this COVID stuff, and they're kind of deep into planning already for the off season, which he touched on is going to be a mess.
Yeah.
It's something else. And as a point of clarification or being completely and totally forthcoming, JD and I do a lot of work with Do It for Dirt. You can kind of see an old sign from our events, and we do something outside of baseball together. That's not to say that he's giving me scoops at the trade deadline, because believe me, he is not doing that. I mean, there's a definite professional line there, and it can be frustrating at times, but we do have something more in common than just the Texas Rangers, and it's this Do It for Dirt foundation, which I will be talking about frequently on our podcast, by the way.
By the way, I'm a big guy in that. You and I played in the golf tournament together, and that was a lot of fun. Kelly Durrett was with us, and the kids met her, and at the time I was going through the deal with Kevin, so Kelly and I sat there and had a great conversation. Owen, now that little kid pissed me off. He can outdrive me, which is a little. What's he, 12? I mean, good Lord, good little athlete there hitting the ball, and didn't meet the youngest one, but Kelly and I really had some great conversation. I think she just appreciated us letting them tag along, and I had a blast. I mean, as a dad, it's fun for me, for any kids to hang around,
Yeah, well, she's just one of the most impressive people I know. What they've had to go through since Richard passed away, and it's been 6 years now, and we're getting ready for an event in October. You can buy tickets. Go to doitfordirt.com, and you can get all the instructions there. October 23rd is our event, and these things.
Got my tickets.
We're not helping the Dirts anymore. Kelly doesn't want any more money. We had the inaugural event was just for them, and since then every event has raised money, and we've given it to families, mostly in the Metroplex, but we've really kind of branched out. We're about to help a family, I believe, in College Station. So these are all families that are going through something that nobody wants to go through. And,
that none of us want to be with. Yep.
yeah. And so, we don't help. We try to help. We spread it out. We're not giving them $100,000. We give some 50, but every penny that people can spend at one of our events really helps the cause.
It's a great cause, and I've admired it especially since they took it out. You're on the board of that, right?
Yeah, and so is John, Emily Jones, Anthony Andro. You guys probably remember him.
Yeah, Anthony. I remember reading Anthony, but he also rode around with us a little bit that day when we were playing in the golf tournament, and that's the first time I'd ever really got to talk to him.
Yeah, and then Kelly and Ashley, who she's kind of helps with the volunteers. So it's a small thing, and we run it ourselves. We don't have some corporation running this for ourselves. So that's kind of why you see, you might see, like, it's not always the most professional thing at times, but it's getting the job done.
It's like this podcast, man. That's fun. And it's a great way to raise some money. And you know what? I'll tell you now, I've played in the golf tournament a couple of times. I'm going to the Do It for Durrett thing in October. Bought the tickets the other day. So now that I have joined the Texas Ranger Baseball Podcast, Texas Rangers Baseball Podcast, I can tell you now I'm probably a volunteer. Anyway, so let's go. You know what? Before we get out of here, every week we're going to talk about the minor leagues, and you talk about one bright spot in this organization. That's something we can talk about. Let's go down in the bus leagues and talk about the minor league system. And you know what? First of all, MLB Pipeline just came out. MLB Pipeline had 5 in the top 100. That's the first time the Rangers have had more than 2 in a while. I mean, it's just been 1. When the season started, I think it was just Josh. And Josh Young that was in it, but hey, they made some big improvement. This system is deep, and I'll tell you where they're deep. Middle infielders, all the way down the system. They have middle infielders that are potential big leaguers.
Well, and I agree with you on that, and I also think they're pretty deep, believe it or not, for the Texas Rangers starting pitching.
Exactly.
It's pretty surprising on the middle infield front. Foscue obviously is I think the second baseman of the future. He had 2 hits last night, but he's hitting low 200s in Double-A, but he abused High-A. He was definitely ready for promotion.
Yep.
But then Luis Angel Acuna, Max Acosta, but there's so many others. Those are the names, and there are guys who are going to develop. And
well, the new Yankee kids are both middle infielders, Duran and Smith.
Yeah, and what, Smith's at Double-A now, so and Duran had he's got to go on the 40-man this offseason because he's Rule 5 eligible, so you'll see him at spring training next year. It's pretty interesting there. And then the starting pitching depth, we already Cole Winn. Jack Leiter's not even going to pitch this year, so Jack Leiter, Cole Winn, you mentioned Reagan's. He may peter out here just because he hasn't pitched in 3 years, but he's done real well. Alexi,
Koa Roby, yeah,
Rodriguez,
Owen White. They got Mason Englert, who's done well at Hickory.
Corey Bradford, who's at Double-A,
yeah,
basically hasn't pitched since 2018 too.
The Baylor kid, right? Wasn't he from Baylor?
Yeah, and he had thoracic outlet syndrome his junior year. Only made like 3 starts, and they were terrible. But he was the I think he was the Big 12 pitcher of the year in 2018. So
yep.
They got a good one there, and that doesn't include Brock Burke, who's on his way back, Joe Palumbo, who's always hurt, John King, who right now, Kyle Cody, who's hurt too. So there are guys that you've seen them in the bullpen this year or last year, but really they're starting pitchers.
Yeah,
and when a guy goes down, for you to have the ability to call somebody up from AAA and plug him in and kind of have an idea of what you're going to get, that's so big for a contending team.
Yeah,
and you can go all the way back to the great Ranger teams. 2010, Rich Harden petered out, so they moved him out. And 2011 somehow they went through without any injuries, but 2012 they had injuries, and it turned out to bite them a little bit in 2012 because when Colby Lewis got hurt, that spot in the rotation didn't win a game the rest of the way. So
wow,
it's very important to have quality starting pitching depth.
And I don't think people understand. A lot of times, the Rangers of the past, now they're going to have starting pitching depth that are going to be young, actual prospects pitching depth. That's what's going to be from the. And look, Taylor Hearn. Taylor Hearn is in the bullpen. Look what he's done. He's looked really good, and he is solidifying himself as, hey, I should be somewhere in this rotation. We all thought Kyle Cody was going to be in the rotation this year, the way he ended last year. So that's another guy that if he gets it together. Joe Palumbo, brilliant in minor leagues. I mean, of course, he sprained an ankle, I think, getting a drink of water yesterday. This guy cannot. It's just I've met his parents. He's a great guy. I like Joe. Golly, you talk about snake bit right now.
Well, he's in addition to the physical stuff like the back he's dealing with now, he has ulcerative colitis.
Yes.
And it kind of flared up on him last year when you thought he was going to get his chance.
Right.
And he's juggling that now too. So, I mean, I don't know what his future holds, but they're not going to get rid of him, and he's not going to stop trying. But other guys are catching up and passing him. So that's just
well, let's be honest, his future may be bullpen. If you've ever looked at his stats, he's a strikeout guy. That guy, he strikes out a lot. He misses bats. And you know what? His deal is he'll come out and go, 3 up, 3 down, and then he'll get into that second and third and all of a sudden lose a little control, or do whatever. So maybe that's his future. I don't know. I'm pulling for Joe. He's a great story, 30th round pick. But you're right. Pitching depth and being able, not having to go down to AAA for a spot start from a guy like Austin which was a great story. And that game he had that was fantastic. But let's be honest, when you're a 33-year-old AAA guy, you're a placeholder is what you're doing. You're Tim Dillard. You're just there making funny jokes and filling innings that need to be filled when a kid's not ready for AAA. That's basically it.
Yeah. And let's try to look at the rotation next year. You'll have Ari Hara.
Yep.
And then what? Colby Allard looks like he's probably going to start next year. Hearn's making a case. Obviously Dunning. I should have mentioned Dunning first.
Yeah, Dunning's in. Yeah.
And then
Howard. Spencer Howard is hit or miss. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know that Ari Hara is a lock to be a starter either.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
I mean, he has pitched as a reliever in Japan. Most of his work is as a starter, but you don't know. So, and it's not like you're paying him a ton of money. So it's going to be pretty open, but once the 5 are set upon, that AAA rotation is going to be really good.
Yeah, I think so.
And and AA rotation is going to be good. And
right.
If Leiter starts, you could see him theoretically moving up to AAA, at the All-Star break.
Sure.
Depending on how well he does, but that's a lot. That's just something the Rangers haven't had in a while. Yeah, I guess you could go back to the DVD days and not trade 2 of them and see the other one break down. But it's more than 3 is the thing. So it's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's even more positive than the DVD because it's not just the 3 pitchers you have. You've got a lot there. Leiter, good for Leiter. They've shut him down, but the guy's pitched more innings than I think any minor league will probably pitch this year. Pitched 100 innings. So it's good to shut him down. He's not coming into next year off of a COVID year going, maybe got through a lot of bullpen sessions and that was it. I mean, he's pitched in game situations and pitched over 100 innings.
Yeah, I mean, he's pitched in huge situations.
Absolutely.
I mean, he started game 1 of the Carl's World Series finals. So he knows what he's doing, and of course he's got the pedigree with the dad and the uncle, and they're gonna treat him right. And listening to him at that press conference, it was unbelievable.
It was pretty impressive.
Talked, and then afterward we got him on the side, a bunch of us, and he's ready, and he is ready to be a professional pitcher, and he can't wait. But to do what they're doing now, it's fine. And maybe that's part of the package. Maybe that's what got him, convinced him to sign with the Rangers. Maybe Chris Young, who went to Princeton, pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
They're on the same path. Jack wants to complete his degree. That's what he's doing right now. Classes started this week at Vanderbilt,
and he's there.
Yeah, but he's also going to be working out there
Yeah.
with a lot of really good major league pitchers who come back and work out there in Nashville. So
Yeah.
I don't. It's unusual. Yes, I think it's definitely unusual. He might be getting a little preferential treatment, but you know what? Good.
Yeah.
He's your number 2 overall pick and future ace.
Absolutely.
Get him comfortable and get him up there.
And if you know, and that might have been part of the negotiation. Yeah, you know, we'll take this money, but look, he wants to in the fall, he wants to get some more hours done. He wants to go for that degree. And if you're a Rangers pitcher or the front office staff right now, and you've just given this guy $8 million, and he's the number 2 pick, and he's pitched 100 innings, and you know what he is, I have no issue with it. Right now, go over there and work out and get some hours. Be happy, because you know what, you don't need to pitch right now. Go enjoy yourself.
There's no shortage of Jack Leiter scouting reports. I mean, there are a lot of guys saw Jack Leiter this spring. All right, they know what they're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? And they're going to have a top 5 pick next year too. So this minor league system's about to go. And I think is it Zavala? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Has he even played? He's playing with the rookie team, right?
I know he went to he went for the mini camp. I don't know that he has played, to tell you the truth.
Some injury, right? Because there was something that happened there.
But they haven't disclosed what it is that he's dealing with. But it's not a torn rotator cuff or blown out knee. It sounds like it's something that's a little more serious, not life and death, but something that needs to be addressed. And again, this is
no sense making him play if he needs to sit and rest.
He's a very, very college polished hitter. He was the Pac-12 Player of the Year.
Exactly.
That's a pretty good baseball league, last I remember. And so this guy's going to be all right. And it sounds like just listening to the way people talk about him with the Rangers, about how he's dealing with the things he's going through. It sounds like they've got a good person, and that's such a big deal with the Rangers these days.
Yeah.
You know, we and you've talked to a lot of minor league guys. None of these guys are, they're not pretentious. They're not, they're not expecting people to wait on them hand and foot. These are good guys, humble guys who can play and kind of get the big picture of it all.
Yep, exactly. Well, Jeff, I think this is a great first episode to put in the books right here. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. You know what? We talked about a lot. It's good to have JD on, and we'll figure out. We'll try to be more consistent, right? We'll try to pick a day to do it and release it. But yeah, let's do it.
Yep, that's it, guys. That's all the time we have for this one. We had a great time. We're going to get it out next time. For Jeff Wilson, I'm John Moore. Until we see you next time, see you at the yard, guys.